It was 1986. He kept telling himself that it had to be now, as he tried to remain inconspicuous as he headed to the launch bay. His face hidden behind the visor of his spacesuit, he stowed the container hiding the stolen item aboard the shuttle. As the onboard computer began counting down to ignition, Dr. Elias Shaw looked out at the sky beyond the windshield. He was leaving for a good reason, but still, it was farewell. The message he'd found made it clear he needed to get this item off the planet as fast as possible. Where better than Venus? The Foundation already had a space station up there, having mastered space travel long before the Americans and Soviets had. Once the danger was averted and the box was safely aboard that station, maybe he'd come back to Earth. The boosters of the shuttle rumbled, lifting the craft off and sending Dr. Elias Shaw heading for Venus. Naturally, the Foundation was one step ahead. Their off-world installation orbiting Venus had been notified that a rogue Foundation agent was en route to the satellite. The moment that the shuttle docked and the airlocks depressurized, Mobile Task Force Theta 85, also known as Leaving Ground, were waiting to apprehend Dr. Elias Shaw. He was to be escorted back to Earth with the stolen anomalous object in tow. It was a metal box, old and weathered, seemingly innocuous. But during preparations for the long flight back, everyone on board the satellite started to feel the same sense of unease around the box. The sound, the countdown coming from the object, the feeling that they needed to open it. Every time Shaw refused, urging them to repress that impulse and not open the box. He insisted there was nothing to be found inside. The nerves spread like wildfire through the station. Members of Leaving Ground quickly abandoned their posts as a mutiny against the Foundation's orders took place. MTF operators kept watch over the ominous box, keeping their rifles trained on it at all times. Dr. Elias Shaw explained to the researchers stationed at the Venus installation that he had brought the strange box here to prevent whatever was inside from wreaking havoc on Earth. On Venus, once the countdown had fully elapsed, then whatever impending danger was about to be released would emerge far away from humanity. Quickly, the other Foundation personnel believed Shaw's claims, even agreed with his plan. The moment they heard the countdown coming from the box, it was as if they knew nothing good would come when it hit zero. Now all that was left to do was wait for it to finish. Days turned into months, the constant countdown ticking away as those around it became more and more unsettled. A few times, someone's paranoia had overcome them, and they'd made a desperate attempt to prematurely open the box. MTF troops would intervene, grabbing whoever it was and dragging them away before they had a chance. But the longer the countdown went on, the worse everyone on board started to feel. Months later, having received no word from the Venus station, the Foundation dispatched a rescue crew to retrieve Dr. Elias Shaw and the anomalous object he'd escaped Earth with. Emerging through the open airlock, the team found the station in ruins. Panels had been ripped from the walls, equipment smashed to pieces, debris left everywhere. Emergency power had taken over, leaving the lights dim throughout the station. There were no signs of life. Floating their way through in zero gravity, the rescue team were startled when they encountered a body. As it drifted lifelessly, bumping up against a wall, they spotted words painted across it. Words painted in blood. Maybe they've seen us. Other similar messages were found throughout the station, including one that read, "Will things ever be the same again?" There were clear signs of a struggle. Paranoia combined with the cold isolation of space seemed to have taken hold of the Venus crew, causing them to turn on each other. But there was one survivor. The rescue team opened up a section of the Venus station to find an emaciated figure, hunched over something and gripping it tightly with one arm, while holding something else in the other. His clothes were filthy, moving erratically, twitching more like a feral animal than a human being. Stepping closer, the beams of their flashlights fell over Dr. Shaw, who turned and shielded his eyes from the light. He was covering the strange box, preventing anyone from getting close. A dismembered human arm was gripped in his other hand, and blood stained his mouth. The rescue crew were able to step in and subdue the ferocious Foundation doctor, despite his cries of protest. He was quickly sedated, and one of the research team flipped the lid of the strange object open, only to find nothing inside. Those observing SCP-902 will rarely see anything that could be considered out of the ordinary. The object itself has been regarded as widely unremarkable by numerous senior researchers, or rather, it would be, were it not for the effect it has on those who have been close to SCP-902. From the outset, it appears to be little more than a large antique box, 30 centimeters by 15 centimeters wide, standing at 19 centimeters tall. The object itself was first recovered from the city of Samarkand in southern eastern Uzbekistan, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in Central Asia. However, upon its initial discovery, it was unclear whether or not SCP-902 had originated from Samarkand, so the Foundation sought outside assistance with identifying its exact point of origin. Those approached were only given access to SCP-902 after signing a non-disclosure agreement that included consenting to be administered with amnestics after concluding their examination of the anomalous box. The SCP Foundation consulted with a number of archaeological experts, and it was soon determined that the object itself is, or was, likely an ammunition box. However, archaeological consultants have been unable to determine exactly from where in the world it originated, or exactly when. The most coherent examinations of SCP-902 come from Professor Redacted, a PhD in Central Asian History from the University of Redacted, whose findings on the box seem to indicate that the object was indeed an ammunition box, a type that was used roughly 30 years ago. However, his notes on the object quickly become harder to decipher, deteriorating into wildly paranoid scrawlings over the pages of his notebook. Foundation forensics teams also found that a dark, rust-colored substance staining some of the research pages contained traces of the professor's blood. A medical evaluation revealed that, owing to the nerves, he had been pulling out his own fingernails with his teeth. The claim that the box is around 30 years old is also one that has been widely disputed by Foundation researchers. For one, the item in question displays a considerable level of corrosion, one that seems far more consistent with much older metal objects, within the realm of a century old to older. Of course, what further refutes the professor's findings is that SCP-902 has been in Foundation containment for around 60 years. The composition of the box is no secret, and has been thoroughly examined by the Foundation. The surface of the box itself is composed of lead, as confirmed by several rounds of spectrometry testing. The metal itself, while heavily rusted, has a number of simplistic patterns at the edges and joins of the box, as well as another on the front, where a latch can also be found. However, there is no lock, a fact that has caused concern for those testing with SCP-902. What is not known is the composition of the object inside SCP-902. When the box is opened to examine closer, it appears to be empty. However, anyone who has opened SCP-902 has described the exact same feeling, that there is something stored inside, even though there isn't. Multi-spectrum analysis has revealed no abnormalities, nothing within capable of generating light, nor heat, nor sound. Yet 100% of personnel that interact with the anomalous item state that they believe there should be an object inside. This notion is furthered by the continuous ticking sound that emanates from SCP-902 at all times, and has done for at least the last 6 decades since being placed in Foundation containment, although it is highly likely that the object has been emitting the same sound far longer than even that. Anyone that is within earshot of this sound will experience the primary anomalous effect of SCP-902. The sound will convince them that the non-existent item inside the box is counting down to something. Even opening the box during this time will not deter or disrupt the ticking. It is continuous, although those that hear it will become immediately concerned about what the noise indicates. Psychological evaluations have been conducted on the various members of personnel that have had direct personal interactions with SCP-902. Throughout all of these cases, the consistencies have been regarded as a clear and identifiable pattern, suggesting that SCP-902 has the exact same effect on any and all human beings that interact with it. Those who hear the ticking noise will exhibit symptoms of heightened paranoia, regardless of their mental health history, any previous diagnosed psychological conditions, or a lack thereof. The paranoia exhibited by those affected is always fixated on the ticking sound emanating from SCP-902, and a feeling of apprehension surrounding the countdown. Subjects have reported feeling terrified of what will happen when the countdown stops, with many sharing the same thoughts, that there is something horrifically dangerous inside SCP-902, something that needs to be destroyed when the countdown reaches its end, if not before. Interestingly, SCP Foundation researchers are examining the possible mimetic effects of SCP-902 paranoia. In a few cases, personnel that have heard about the anomalous box, or even read about it in reports, seem to develop the same sense of paranoia towards SCP-902, even if they have not had their own direct interactions with it. Consistently though, all staff who are exposed to SCP-902's effects, whether directly or indirectly, will attempt to open the box, only to close it once they have failed to locate the non-existent contents. The effects of SCP-902 are so widespread, they have even affected the entire Foundation, even influencing how the object is kept in containment. Given that the Foundation cannot exactly rule out that something might happen should the countdown ever end, the box is still considered a KETER class threat and has been regulated to the isolated Arctic base Theta-12 for the sake of a greater chance of safety. Speculations as to exactly what will happen when the countdown ends range from the release of an unknown anomalous being to the manifestation of some dangerous world-threatening element within the box. Given that there's no way of ascertaining the outcome, a security team of 50 personnel is assigned to staff the site housing SCP-902, and no further research into it has been approved. The object is to remain guarded at all times and safeguarded against premature destruction. Any information regarding SCP-902 beyond its designation number is limited to members of staff with a security clearance of level 3 or higher. Only a select number of senior staff are permitted to know of SCP-902's existence at any one time, and this extends to the Overseer Council, with only one O5 member being cleared to know of SCP-902. If a security breach, even one unrelated to the anomalous object, should occur at Arctic Base Theta-12, the on-site hydrogen bomb will be remotely detonated to destroy SCP-902 and likely kill all on-site personnel. There is no object. There is an object. It has to be destroyed when the countdown stops. We are doing great work. We have to be stopped. Now go check out SCP-3034, the counting station, and SCP-001 Noir Box Proposal, Hated Caesar, for more.